Hi homeschoolers, it's me Jazz again here from Hidden Library Homeschool, and I'm back with the fall book haul, some of the books that I've been picking up the past couple of weeks. Every November I'm always looking into our curriculum for the next year and what I want to buy and trying to finalize all of our plans. And I've pretty much done that. About 90% of what I want to buy for next year I have planned out. But since it's so far until the next year, so many months until that begins, and we're really not even halfway through this year, I don't want to buy things this early. I don't want to buy something and they come out with another edition, which has happened if I bought things too early. When I bought something and not even 2 months later they come out with another edition that I'm like, that would work so much better. But I've already purchased something, so I feel like I should use that instead of switching things up. Or I may change my mind. I may find something that might work better, so I don't want to buy anything right now. But since I'm looking at so many different books and kind of seeing what's out there, I always get the book bug and want to buy new books. So one of my excuses for buying books in the past couple of weeks has been with social studies. Last week and the week before that, we took a break from what we were doing in social studies. We had done a bit of a review, then we'd gone over again the Roman Empire, and then a bit into the Byzantine Empire. But I wanted to take a break and look back at where some of the major religions started that will have a big role within the Middle Ages before we got too deep into the Middle Ages. And I just wanted Tony to understand some of the beliefs and where they came from and just have some sort of knowledge of that before we really get into the Middle Ages. So what we were using was this book right here. And this one I already had. It's the Usborne Encyclopedia of World Religions. But he was not a fan of this book at all. It's kind of I think wordy in his opinion, and while like this the page itself is pretty colorful, it just didn't seem really appealing to him. Just the way it was one book where I mean you open the book and I hear from him, this again. So I knew we had to look for something else. So what I did instead is I picked up this book right here, A Faith Like Mine, and this is a lot like the A School Like Mine? Oh, what is there? I'm pretty sure. I'll look that up. I think it's A School Like Mine that we used in kindergarten, and it's set up pretty much like that. In that book, they had it laid out for all of how different children went to school all around the world, and this one is laid out in different religions and how people practice them around the world and where they started. So this book, in the table of contents, I'll show you what religions it goes over. So if I can steady that and you can read that. So it goes over all of those different religions. It talks about what is faith, and we were talking about how some people are religious, some people are not religious, but honestly this is one topic that was not appealing to him. He was not really interested in this topic. He did not want to talk about religion or some people not being religious or really anything in between. He was just honestly just the whole subject he really didn't want to hear about. But this book did go about this book was a little bit more appealing to him because you can see there's more. It just looked the pages to him I think worked out better because it wasn't just the page itself that was colorful like in the Usborne book. It actually had, oh, I probably have to move back so you can see the whole thing. It had, the information was in smaller chunks. It wasn't just like run on and on and on speaking about it. He liked this one a little bit better, but honestly the topic itself he wasn't interested in. But for every religion that it shows in the table of context, it goes over where the religion started, how long ago, some of the major leaders within that religion, some of the symbols, holidays, traditions, and different things like that. And it also has, as you can see here, there's these little pictures all throughout about kids all around the world who practice that religion. And it has a similar spread like this for that's another religion, I guess, for every religion that is mentioned in that book. So we had that, and we also did this book right here, Layla's Lunchbox, and the Patchwork Torah. And the last book we had for that little unit was World Myths and Legends, 25 Projects You Can Build Yourself. And this book he liked the best out of all of those books that we used for our unit because it was about myths and legends and not religion itself. Like legends are always fun. He loves the older myths, like within myths like in the of course, the Egyptians, Romans, and the Greeks. So he loved that type of thing. It was just the religion section of it that he just, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but honestly, and it wasn't the religion itself. It was religion, speaking about religion and speaking about, you know, people who are not religious, either side. He really was not interested in at all. So he did like this book. And the funny thing was, we were reading this book, and I forgot what section we were on exactly. Well, he just pauses and goes to me, "Mom, did Abraham Lincoln believe in gods?" I said, "Well, one God." He goes, "Okay." And then from then on out, he was okay with speaking about the topic. So it was just so weird. Like, okay, well, Abraham Lincoln says it's okay, so I guess we can talk about it. But, I mean, well, some of this we haven't gone over because when we get into that topic, I mean, that country or culture, we will refer back to this book. We're just kind of going over some of the older ones, and kind of just a overview of some of the things that will come up later. Like we already did last year when it's talking about the Epic of Gilgamesh and the gods and whatnot that have to do with that, and it talks about like right here, some stuff in Egypt. So he had a little bit more fun with that. And yes, it does have projects, but we didn't do this for the projects at all because a lot of them looked like stuff that I'm trying to find one in particular, but I'm not seeing it right now. Oh, like this one right here. We already did this last year, and it was because it's very similar to one that we used in another book, so we didn't feel the need to do those again. But if you were looking at this for projects, it does have some simpler projects within it. So off of that unit, I went on to buy many more books. And when I say many more books, I have so many in front of me. I probably won't be able to get through all of them in this video, and I have more coming, so I'll definitely have to make another video on more of the books. So I said I wasn't going to buy stuff for next year, but I ended up buying this thinking I was going to use it for this year. So this is Great Literature Copywork, Handwriting Practice, and this is volume 1. And when I looked at this online, you know how when you look at stuff on Amazon, it just shows a page or two. So I thought that it was going to be good for this year when it had, you know, shorter things like this. But then it has, let me find a good example, much longer things that are then going to take pages and pages to do. And yes, I could break it up, but looking at it up close and personal, like long stuff like this. So looking at it up close and personal, I think it'll be better for next year or maybe even 4th grade. So we will shelve this, but definitely use it because I like this. And last year I looked for so many things for copywork, and I really just don't want to do that again. That was a lot of work. I want something where it's done for me and I can just assign that to him, because it makes my life so much easier. So yeah, they will shelve this and probably next year use this. One book, well, 2 books I actually bought for myself. This is from Five Below. This is the Handy Anatomy Answer book. And I bought this book and this book right here, Painless Life Science, just more as kind of a reference book for myself to look back at things, because yes, his science is at his level, but you know how kids are. They ask a question and it snowballs and it turns into this and this and this, and then suddenly you're like, I don't know if I remember that section from college biology. So then you look back at it. So it's good to have something on hand. Yes, you can Google anything, but it's nice to have a book on hand that you can flip through. We also have, this is a book that we are actually listening to the audiobook we have from the library, The Extraordinary Education of Nicholas Benedict. And we are not that far into it. You can see it's pretty thick. And even on CD, it's 11 CDs. So it's going to take us a little bit of time to get through this because all 11 of those CDs are about an hour long. So yeah, he is enjoying it, but it's going to take us a while. Maybe even a couple of times, I forgot the word for it. It's going to come to me. A couple of times borrowing the actual CD. We might run out of time in our allotted time borrowing that from the library. But the book itself, we do own. I'm trying to get all the books that we use as audiobooks. I'm trying to get a physical copy because we've listened to so many books that I don't actually have the physical copy of it, and I kind of feel like I should have it on my shelf also. This book, he is reading to me. I wanted something fun that he would actually want to read to me. So this is not really school, but I want some, I kind of want him to just get excited about reading. He's kind of just does it for school, but I want him to do it and see that it can also be fun. So he has Who is Stanley, and what kid doesn't love superheroes? And all three of my kids are, you know, really into superheroes, so he loves this book. This book I actually bought for our preschool, pre-K, and we already had this, but the kids that are in preschool now happened to destroy it when they were babies, so we had to buy it again, and all my little boys have loved this book. I have A Weed is a Flower, and we're going to be using this week, this week when we go over plants. I bought The Bravest Dog Ever, The True Story of Balto, and this one I actually think we're going to shelve and use it in first grade when the other kids come up into first grade, because I think it would have been better then. We have Buddy the First Seeing Eye Dog, Heroes in Training, Zeus and the Thunderbolt of Doom, and this is not going to be a book that I assigned for him for school. It's probably actually going to be a book that I have him read over the summer. I have the Kingdom of Renly and the Lost Stone. What I'm trying to do right now is buy a lot of books, the first book in many different series at this reading level, so that I can kind of get him introduced to a lot of different series and maybe have him pick one that he likes. Because I remember at his age looking at books and, you know, getting excited about going to the library and getting excited about buying the book or however I can get my hands on the next book and getting further and further into a series. So I'm trying to find the first book in a couple of different series. And this one kind of just has it's short and has a lesson about friendship, and it's a cute little story. I mean, but I don't actually see him getting too far into this one, because at least in the first book there wasn't a whole lot to it, but it was a fun read, I think. So I also have the Whodunit Detective Agency, The Diamond Mystery, and this book I actually probably won't assign to him. I'll probably just put this on his bookshelf in his room, and it probably won't be a school book, but it's always nice to have books around the house that he can pick up when he has time that he can read that outside of school. I have Cam Jansen, The Mystery of the Stolen Diamonds, and this is one of my favorite series when I was his age, so I wanted to buy this book. He may not be interested in it because it has a female lead, and I know at his age I was looking for, you know, female leads in a story, and I don't know if he's going to be looking for that now in the stories he really gets into, but it can't hurt to kind of have a balance of male and female characters as the lead within the different books that I picked out. So I did pick out this book, The Tales from Maple Ridge, Logan Price Makes a Mess. And this one does have a male lead, but this was such a cute story. I actually really like this one, and I was surprised for, at this level, really liking this book, because a lot of the books that I've been reading, I'm like, yeah, that was fun when I was a kid. But now I'm just like, okay, I'm just reading it so I can get through it to give it to him and see how it was. But I actually enjoyed this book. It has a nice little moral on it about, you know, working with your family, and also owning up to your mistakes and fixing them. And it was well written. A lot of books at this stage, when I see them, you look at the words and it seems like the author wrote in such a choppy way, because it seemed like they were holding back some of the big words that they might put in a story for an older audience, but they felt like they couldn't introduce those words in the younger book. But this one was actually well written, and of course it has, you know, nice pictures, and I love black and white pictures at this stage, so I think he's actually going to enjoy this one, but I did, so we're going to be reading this one soon together. I also have Dragon Master's Rise of the Earth Dragon, and this one I wasn't a big fan of. I'll probably put this also on his shelf, and it probably won't be a school book. It'll probably be, if he wants to read it, he can. It will be there. I have The Secret Chicken Society, and I haven't gotten too far into this one because I had a preschooler emergency, ran from it, and never ended up getting back to it. But they're pretty thin, so it's like a 20-minute read, so I just have to get back to it and do it. I also have The Littles, and this one I didn't buy. This was actually given to us from the library, and they were giving away books for one of their kids' days. Sorry, I keep like my mouth is dry. The Magic Finger. So we got this one. I have The Adventures of Sophie Mouse, A New Friend, and this is another one with a cute little moral to it about friendship and not judging people before you get to know them, because just because they may look a certain way doesn't mean that your first impressions of them are correct. Until you get to know them, you don't really know. I have A Mouse Called Wolf, and this one, I loved this book, and I'm usually not into books with mice because they freak me out. The minute I start reading a book about a mouse, I am like looking around and every shadow then becomes a mouse in my eyes. But this one was a really cute book about, you know, making friends with people, and it also was talking about 911, which I was reading this book and I'm thinking like I should really go over, you know, 911 and how to use that with him. Just kind of reminded me of that. But also it was well written, and I like that the author put in musical terms, but put them in a way, because I see some books where it's just like, I know this big word, let me splash it in the sentence, but it wasn't like that. They put it in such a way that you almost already knew what it meant, or you did know what it meant just by reading it in that sentence, because it just flowed so nicely. And even though it may be a musical term that kids at this age may not know offhand, they would come to know it after reading this book. I also have Cuda of the Celts. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this correctly. But I wanted this book because we were reading about the Celts, and he just couldn't picture some of the things that they were describing with their uniform and their dress and their way of life. Like, he couldn't picture when they were talking about painting themselves blue. So I kind of like this book. We haven't read this one together. I just read it beforehand. So I also have, and I'm going to attempt to pronounce it because I have looked this up and I've seen it said 3 different ways and written 2 different ways, so I'm gonna say Sundiata, the Lion King of Mali. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. So we're gonna be reading this when we get on to Africa. I also have The One and Only Ivan, and this is obviously a book that I will either read to him or try to find the audiobook. They didn't have it at my library, but I can probably, you know, get it online. And I haven't gotten too far into it. A lot of these things just came in the mail recently, so I haven't gotten too far into it, but so far I like it, and we will probably end up, unless something, you know, crazy comes in and surprises me, we'll probably end up doing this when we talk about mammals later on this year. And the last book, because I see my time and it's forever, is Great Irish Legends for Children. And this book I've been looking for forever. Well, I haven't been looking for it. I've just been waiting to buy it because it seems like it would go from $8 to $15 from day to day in Amazon, and I could never find the right time to get it. But it finally went down to $8 when I was actually doing a book haul, so I ended up, I ended up getting it, and I love the illustrations in this. I don't know what it is about the Celtic and Irish, like that type of, the illustrations in the book seems to just be awesome in both of those 2 books that I have. So I'm gonna stop it here because, yeah, I have another pile that I haven't even gotten to, and yeah, and I have more on the way, so I will make another video with those. But thanks for checking this video out from Hidden Library Homeschool. Please like, comment, and subscribe below. Bye.